Yeah, no.
So today we have Keith Fahey, former Ireland international, here to speak with us for Catholic Schools Week. Thanks very much, Keith, for joining us today. It's always great to have speakers in for our students and our parents and the general Belvedere community. The aim of Catholic Schools Week is, I suppose, is to reflect on the theme of faith and the role that plays in people's lives. And we talked a little bit about it before we come on the call. The theme of this week is living life to the full. So with that in mind, maybe you might, on that theme, what does that mean to you? What does it mean about your life or your faith journey? And just tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, cheers, thanks for having us on again. And yeah, living life to the full, like if we look at that, like the way it is now to the way it used to be, it's very differently. And if I look back on my life through kind of the routines I lived out, like the cycles I was in or stuck in the past when I was playing football on, it would have been like I would have been intensely preparing for football matches and stuff like that. And then after the match, I'd end up intensely abusing drink and that, like I'd go out for a couple of days and stuff, and then I'd be recovering, be playing catch up, tail between my legs, going back to training, probably after missing a couple of days, and then building up towards playing a match again. And there wasn't much space for anything else. Like, so that for me was fullness. Now it was a very small world, but it was really intense, like, and I suppose now, like, my routine is a lot different and there's always space for more growth. Like, I'm not stuck in any cycles and stuff like that. Living life to the full for me is kind of, it starts off my day with prayer and stuff, and getting involved in community, sitting in silence as well is great, volunteering, and going out and enjoying a bit of sunshine or going for a dip in the sea, stuff like that. It's all stuff like that I can build on, and like that, my past routine on would have had byproducts of what I was doing, like. And there's also stuff that I've inherited through my life and all, which wouldn't be great. Like, the byproduct of what I used to do would have been like a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. I try and stay close to the truth. I experience love, joy, peace, and openness to more growth and stuff like that. Yeah, so that's my idea. My idea of living life to the full personally is like to be the best version I can be of myself and encourage others to do so as well, like,
And
Yeah.
did you find, obviously, as a professional footballer, you talked about the busyness and the intensity. Was the move from a very busy sport in life when you retired into the kind of picking up the faith and your kind of journey into that, was there a natural journey into that, or were you seeking something at that time?
I would say there was a natural kind of drifting into it. I wasn't looking for it on. It did naturally, if I look back now, kind of there was a natural kind of drawn towards it. Like I retired at 32 years of age. I ended up living, like, making a lot of bad choices, like, throughout my life, and ultimately it led me to surrendering my own kind of selfish wants and selfish things. I just couldn't stop doing certain things, and I started to pray. And I haven't looked back. Like, I think through all that, like, the transformation, like, I thought it was one big moment, but if I look back now, it was kind of gradual. There was people that I would have trusted, a couple of people in my life who I trusted, and I took a kind of a leap of faith with them. And then it just more and more, I kind of trusted in God, and prayed, and wanted to hear more truth and see more truth in my life. I think I was led more and more into the faith, I think, like, and the power of prayer, like, we're going to talk about now in a sec, but prayer, like, once I started praying on, I haven't really looked back, like, and I get taught a lot of things during prayer if there's something I'm asking for or whatever, and if it's not happening, I'm getting a chance to learn, I'm getting a chance to work on my patience and all that sort of stuff that I couldn't in the past. I wanted the selfish stuff. I wanted what Keith wanted, and I wanted it yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, so, yeah.
And was prayer like, you know, did the idea of prayer just come to you? Was it introduced to you, or was it something that, you know, did you have as a child? Was faith very much part of your life, or like a
No,
lot?
it wasn't down. Faith wasn't part of my life as a child. Unfortunately, like I say that because with no real security, like I would look at my family circumstances growing up. Oh, I had it rough and all that. But I think like my family, my mother and father inherited bad choices that their family might have passed on, stuff like that. So yeah, that's the way it was. I grew up very insecure, very full of low self-esteem and not being sure about the world, and I didn't trust people and all that sort of stuff. And it wasn't a good way to live, like, but there came a time, like, I think as a child, I started to do things to change all that. I was doing a lot of drinking and acting out in certain ways, which wasn't great. I was only a child, but then there comes a line in your life where you're supposed to take responsibility. I never did. I kept making bad decisions, and ultimately, it left me in a treatment centre, and I was left with no real option other than but to pray. So when I started to pray, I started to let the grace of God flow into me. Like, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I still don't know really, but I just know that like since I did and since I have gained and practiced more trust in God, that like I feel more graceful, and you know, I'm making better decisions. I have the freedom to choose and all that sort of stuff, you know. So it wasn't something I sat down and said, you know what, I'm going to start praying and stuff like that. I was kind of left with no choice nearly at the end, you know. So, and thank God, yeah, looking back in, it's things have changed like that. When I go back to my routines, the way it was, the way it is now, I'm always kind of looking for opportunities to do better and to be better. I'm also mindful of that kind of selfish desires that we all have in us. Like, you know, I know where they can lead me, and it's not a pretty place. Like,
so you can see, like, prayer sounds like it's or a journey in a faith life has changed you quite dramatically. Has it changed much your outlook at life and yourself and happiness and stuff like that?
yeah, absolutely. It has, and it's difficult as well. Like, I would have had these set prayers that I used to say, and I was kind of stuck in that for a while as well. And then I was trying to trust myself to kind of broaden that and speak to God more and ask him more questions and trying to get into conversation really, rather than just sitting down and just saying a set prayer or whatever. But it's been so important to me own. It's given me, like, I don't know, there was one point I kind of experienced love like I've never felt it, like, and that was kind of, I say, the major turning point really. But if I look back now, there was gradual bits to lead me there, and I just, since that, I felt the love that I was always craving from other people, from like other things that they were like never able to give me, like, and I felt that love flow in, and like that, I just kind of nurture that through prayer, whether it's silence, whether it's listening to a bit of music, going on a nice walk, jumping in the sea, or yeah, worshiping or whatever it is. Like, I just thank God that I can use my kind of creativity as well to pray as well, because like that, it's not just, I'm trying to build a relationship. I'm trying to have a good relationship with God, because he teaches me then how to be with others. Like, you know, I didn't know how to live. Like, I played the game for a living. Like, I played football for a living, but I didn't know how to live. Like, you know, I really didn't. And I mistreated people. I mistreated myself by making bad choices and all. I know and I want to stay close to God, to learn more and more, and to be a better person, and to help others, encourage others, like to really accept parts of themselves that they don't really want to accept, like, you know, because like the truth does, in my experience, it sets me free, like, you know.
Mhm.
Mm.
And you know, it's Catholic Schools Week, and a lot of what you're saying, there's a lot of young people face them pressures in one sense or another. There's a desperate need for approval that a lot of young people face, and a lot of young people carry a lot of heaviness in their heart sometimes. What would you say to a teenager? What would you, if you could give some advice to your 14 or 15-year-old self? And what advice would you give to men around the faith? Because it sounds like your faith is as much a practical thing as it is anything else. It's very effective in how you live your life.
Yeah, it would be, and I think it's important because it can be, you can make it practical, like I have to practice it. But there's a verse in the Bible, I just want to share it. It's John 16:33. It says, I have said this to you that in me you may have peace. In the world you have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. So that for me, like the worldly stuff, all the stuff like you just mentioned about young lads or young girls growing up, like we all have our struggles, and we can kind of get drawn into all that, the whirlwind of kind of not good stuff, and you can get drawn into it. But when I stay close to the Lord and practically pray, He sets me free of all that. Like I keep my eyes on Jesus, and I'm able to live in the world with peace. Like I like to have solitude. I need it, like to be able to be okay, to be in groups. Like I'm quite an introvert and stuff like that. But in the past, like that, I would have carried a lot of shame, feelings of not being worthy, all that sort of stuff. As a teenager, as a man as well, like, and when I kind of encountered Christ through an Alpha course, it set a fire light in me, and I was also given a desire to get to know the Word of God through the Holy Bible on, and like I haven't looked back. Honest to God, it's given me all the kind of bits of security that I need to be okay in the worldly, you know. So like that, I think going back to your question, like practically, like just give a little bit of time. I would say give a little bit of time to God, or it's just in silence each day, like, and just let that kind of take traction. Like, I believe so, and in my own experience in life, my life has changed because of that own, like, you know. And I love to see younger people. Like I was 35 when I was kind of left with no choice. Like a lot of my life has been, I'd say, lived, I've been alive for it. I didn't really live it to the fullest, and I just love to pass on that message that it can be like, and we just devoting a bit of your time each day to a bit of silence, a bit of prayer, and go and ask someone if you don't know how to, or if you have a want or desire to get in, and into prayer. Go and ask someone that does know, and trust someone as well that's kind of wanting to help you, you know.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the big things that teenagers face. There's so much coming at them. There's so many different opportunities and desires. It's the stage of development. There's a lot kind of pulling at them, and it just sounds like, you know, your idiot faith is an anchor in the midst of all that. I suppose that's what we try to do here in the school. We actually run the Alpha program in the school for all of the transition years. So it's the kind of it's a powerful program, and it's the beginning for a lot of them of that kind of faith journey.
Yeah, it is on like the Alpha course. It's how I kind of saw the truth, like, because I didn't trust a lot of people, and it just in whatever way it worked, it showed me through the Holy Spirit, like that the truth, like, and I haven't looked back on, like, you know. It's a lovely way of revealing the truth, because nobody likes to be told straight out this is the way it is and stuff. Like, you're kind of it worked with me, and I'd love to share that with others, like, you know.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, Keith, thanks very much. I appreciate your time as always. I know you were in the school a few weeks ago talking to a group, and you gave us a little bit of support with this last year. So it's always fantastic to have people willing to share a little bit about their faith journey. And I'd love the way you talk about it, that it is a journey, and it's not always straightforward, and it's not always clear. But if you kind of put one foot in front of the other and keep tipping away at it, growth is the word that stands out for me, you know. So look, thanks very much. It's a pleasure to speak to you again. And yeah, it was great. Thank you very much.
Good to see you, Alan. Thanks again.